Hello, it's your GenX Big Sister here, and I just got off of an Instagram Live with Julie Gordon-White, CEO of Menowell Bars, and you can find that My Menowell on Instagram. And we were talking about menopause and perimenopause, particularly as it relates to single women and single women without kids. I shared some of my nuanced experiences of what it's like navigating the dating world and relationships when I was in perimenopause, what that did, what the symptoms did to me, losing that confidence, feeling less sure of yourself, the physical symptoms, having the night sweats, just, made me very uncomfortable, not necessarily want to cuddle up with a partner. Sex drive was in the toilet. I talked about it in a previous video, but one of the things that she asked was, what sort of tips do I have for someone in this boat of being single and not having kids through this time? And one of the things that came up is we were talking about, I mentioned how being okay with leaning on other people for help when you need it and asking for help and being okay with that. Those of us who have been solo, we've been solo and self-sufficient and very independent for a very long time, and it makes it really difficult to get help from other people. So really getting comfortable with that. And the thought that came into my mind, which actually when I was chatting with Julie, it's really the first time I've had this thought, that perimenopause and menopause have been great practice for my later years when it comes to that. Like when my later years, when I will physically, health-wise, likely at some point in my life need help from somebody else, and getting comfortable with that. And so what I'm experiencing in perimenopause and menopause has forced me to be willing to lean on others and to accept that help. So that was one thing I mentioned. I also mentioned, don't be afraid to talk to your doctor about it. I didn't talk to my doctor about it during most of the years I was going through stuff. It wasn't really such a national conversation at that time. I wish I had talked to a doctor sooner so that I didn't have some of the symptoms that I had. And it might have impacted my thought process and attitude around relationships and dating. I mean, maybe not, but maybe so. So if you're a woman who's going through it right now and you do feel like you do want to have a partner, but some of the symptoms that you're experiencing, whether it's the weight gain, whether it's the night sweats, whatever it is, don't be afraid to talk to experts and get some help and support to work through it instead of just pushing through, which is what I did. Because that's what the women in the generation ahead of us, that's what they did, right? They just pushed through it. Even now, when I ask older women about what their experience had been like, they don't really remember it being that bad of a thing. But I think as women, we have a tendency to do that. I know that women who have given birth sometimes can't remember the full extent of what that was like. Then they forget the pain and some of the downside of it. I also have a tendency to sort of forget sort of the downside or the bad parts of things that have happened in the past. And so when I talk to older women, they're like, yeah, I don't think it was that bad. They just were quiet about it and they didn't talk about it. But I think they might have forgotten how bad it was. Or they didn't know that what they were experiencing was related to menopause. Julie and I also touched a little bit on some of the benefits of this phase in our life. And one of them being our need for friendship with each other and the value of the friendships that we're having. We were talking about the fact that even though we all had been on different life paths, as we all kind of converge into this shared experience, we have a little bit more bandwidth to connect with each other and to develop that into friendships. So that, I think that really sort of enhances our experience. And the rich conversation and experiences that we have as a result of that. So having women from multiple backgrounds and multiple life paths and multiple experiences, when we have a conversation, it just becomes so beautiful because there's so many different perspectives coming in and so many lived life experiences that we're tapping into. And God, I really wish that I do feel like women could save the freaking planet, because I feel the power of us when we come together, especially as we're menopausal and postmenopausal and we're connecting at that particular phase in our life. So we chatted about that. We chatted about dating. We chatted about how menopause hit for somebody who was childless, not by choice, or childless by circumstance. And the more that I talk about it, I want women who don't have this experience to recognize it, and recognize it in their friends and family who may be going through it. So first of all, if you have a woman in your life, a friend, sister, cousin, whoever, that does not have children and they're approaching menopause, first of all, you don't know the circumstances of them not having children. People all assume that that's what we ultimately want, and that's not necessarily the case. And you don't know if we tried, you don't know, you just don't know. But I'm telling you that if they had wanted to have children and they're approaching menopause, there is a chance that it's gonna hit them hard, like mentally, emotionally. So if you're not on that path, if you're not experiencing it quite in that way, just know that some of your sisters may be, and being a little sensitive and understanding of that. You need to understand that we're having to come to terms with a door being closed forever, and we haven't yet seen what other door can open. I mean, that has been my purpose and mission these last few years, is to show women the other doors that can be open. But there's a period of time when you just need to honor the fact that that door has closed and look at that closed door for a while. And I can't articulate the depths of grief that caused for me. So if you're on a different path, if you're experiencing it differently, all I'm asking is that you keep your eyes and ears open to your peers and be a little understanding, send some grace and some sensitivity. I know it's a tough topic to talk about. Some people get offended when you ask. I'm not one of those people, but some are. So you'd have to know your loved one and what they want. But I think just being there for them and understanding what they're going through is going to go a long way. So all that to say, I just had a really great conversation on the topics. It was great seeing Julie Gordon-White again. I had interviewed her several months back for my podcast, Blueprint Breakers. We had a great conversation. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your experiences. You can drop me a comment. You can send me an email. Listen to my podcast and leave me a comment over there. Remember to like and subscribe my channel. This is your GenX Big Sister signing off.